Hey everybody, it's Ron with Ron's Computer Videos. We're doing something a little different tonight. You know, we do sometimes talk to voice actors, so I figured who else would I rather talk to than tonight's guest? He's a writer, director, voice actor, and your phone a friend if you're ever asked a trivia question about really any cartoon, Mr. Andy Merrill. Andy, how are you this evening?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing just fine.
Sorry,
Again,
that was weird.
no, it's okay. That's your brand, man. So I just
Hello there.
lean into it. I
Listen,
really appreciate you.
I just want to say, put that back down. We screwed it up there. All right. Whoops. Ceiling
it's all right.
fan.
It's okay. It's your maybe one of your biggest fans. It's at least in your room.
Maybe I'll just like zoom this around and show you really how messy my office is.
I don't know. This isn't a green screen. I promise. This mess is.
I just have crap all over the floor. I shoot in here too, so I've got. I work for a plushie company, Plushie Dreadfuls, and I shoot a lot of. When I'm not shooting outside, I'll shoot a lot of stuff in here. So I've got little sets here and there in the background. But if you saw it, you would think I was crazy.
I don't know.
But I'm not.
It's the creative mind. It needs space to work, and sometimes it's a little messy. But this is my everything space for all the stuff I do for my channel. So I totally understand.
Yes, but it's clean.
You say that, but you can't see the floor. The floor is where all the disaster is happening. So at least I've got shelves now, so some things are going a little more vertical than they used to. Well, what I do know is that you are I dare I say, expert on cartoons and on the entire medium, and it doesn't matter where it showed up. If it was on television, you know about it. But when you were
to a certain date, I'm not up to date on like the new stuff or anime, but usually any like pre 1990 ish cartoons, especially Hanna-Barbera, like you were saying earlier. We said that off camera. Hanna-Barbera was like my bread and butter, basically, because I grew up in that era. So I was born in '66, and so my key prime of watching Saturday morning cartoons was all Hanna-Barbera and Filmation. Filmation I loved also. So
yeah. I'm from a little bit later. I was born in '76, but I still got to grow up with a lot of those Hanna-Barbera cartoons, and then
reruns.
And everything's on reruns. Everything's like the syndication on all.
Well, they never stopped making Scooby-Doo, and I think they're still making Scooby-Doo. And I would say Scooby-Doo is like the longest running cartoon with like new episodes and movies ever, because it started in '69. And they have not made a Scooby-Doo property since then. So that's been, what, almost 52 years or something like that. It's like been nonstop. What are you into? I'm sorry. The dog.
Okay. But
occasionally I will yell at her if she's licking herself or something.
We're the same way at our house. We've got one that's a real licky dog, and then
so don't think I'm nuts if I just go, stop it! Stop.
The mess is talking again. There you go. There's something to play with, but no, you're 100% right. Scooby-Doo, it's been in production forever because it's kind of one of those. It's perfect formula, and it's just timeless. You can reinvent it a million different ways. It works as a live action thing. It works as animation. It's hard to screw it up. And so when you've got a perfect formula like that, I guess you just stay with it.
It's funny. I met Matthew Lillard at one of the last cons I went to, and I said, it's weird that I never was put on a Scooby-Doo project to ever like. Because I totally would have had Shaggy do all the voiceover and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's one thing at Cartoon Network. I don't think I was ever put on a Scooby-Doo project. I'm probably wrong, but because I worked there for 25 years. But no, I think I never, even when I worked in on-air promos, I never did like a Scooby-Doo project, which is weird to me.
Yeah. For something that was so ubiquitous, it's. I mean, I get it, but
Yeah.
well, if across that whole history, and there's quite a bit of it, what were some of your favorite cartoons as a kid? I mean, you've got Hanna-Barbera stuff, but is there a show or something or a couple shows that just stick out in your mind is like, this was my had to appointment viewing, had to watch these?
Johnny Quest was one, and I'm just still kind of amazed that no one has made like a really good Johnny Quest movie yet. Johnny Quest. I always loved the shows that were based on TV shows. So with Hanna-Barbera, you had Genie, you had Partridge Family 2200, you had Happy Days, Gang, stuff like that. My favorites though were Filmation based. So you had Star Trek,
yes,
the animated series in '74. You also had The New Adventures of Gilligan. You had my favorite Martians. You had I liked the weird stuff, and I also liked the Sid and Marty Krofft stuff. Those weren't animated, but you had. I wasn't big on HR Puffin stuff, but I like the Bugaloos and Sigmund and the Sea Monsters. And,
we were a Lidsville
Land
house.
of the Lost. Lidsville, yeah. I had a talk with Eddie Munster, what's his name? Butch Patrick at a con about how Lidsville had the longest open of a show ever. And they never did like an abbreviated open for the show.
No.
The open to Lidsville was 1:45, and it was all about him going to the park and falling into a big magician's hat and falling and ending up in Lidsville.
Yes,
which is the kookiest. And
it is.
Yeah, I mean, I loved that show, as stupid as it was.
Well, we've got a lot of exposition. We got to get it out there, and you never know. Somebody could be tuning in episode 5. We don't want them to be confused about what's happening here.
I think Lidsville had Weenie Genie, who was also the Witchy Poo on HR Puffin stuff, but most importantly on Lidsville, you had Charles Nelson Reilly, and I loved Charles Nelson Reilly as a kid. I, religiously watched Match Game because I'm a big game show freak and stuff. And so, Charles Nelson Reilly was a big, I wouldn't say influence, but he was a big deal Saturday morning wise. They had a show, I think Filmation put it out, and it was called Uncle Croc's Block, and it had live action hosted segments. It was like a hosted kid cartoon show. And Charles Nelson Reilly was Uncle Croc, and what's his name who played Dr. Smith in Lost in Space was in it too. And it was awful. And they had a cartoon version of MASH about these Klondike dogs called Mush. And that alone was so bad that ABC went to Filmation and said, "You will never have a show on this network again," because it was so awful. It was so bad. Look it up, Mush, on YouTube. Good Lord. It is
we're getting rid of this because we just talked and we're going to get Laverne and Shirley in the Army. That's going to be
that one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's going to be our heavy hitter in the fall.
You know what? That seemed to be was that their way of doing a Private Benjamin cartoon? I
think so, and I think somebody owed Ron Perillo a favor, so they were like, "Listen, we'll get you on there. You can do a voice."
It's funny they never did a Sweat Hogs cartoon, which is weird.
No, and I mean, there's
or did
action
they?
figures.
No, they didn't.
I don't think so, but I remember.
No, we were always big in the. We were always big on the Filmation action cartoons more than anything else, because that's what I remember most watching with my dad was Tarzan, Lord of the Jungle, and they often paired it with. There was a Batman and Robin New Adventures they paired with it. There was a Lone Ranger cartoon. There was a Flash Gordon cartoon that Filmation did, and they all like put it with Tarzan, Lord of the Jungle. Yeah, that was like one of my favorites was Tarzan. Come on, Gani.
Well, you could
Nobody
always count
knows
on
what I just said.
you could always count on Filmation to come in on budget. If you needed a company that was going to animate on the fours, Filmation was the company.
And that's because they would save money on voiceover people and have Lou Scheimer come in and do his stupid voice. Oh, I also love Brady Kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, if you like look at the timeline, Brady Kids was done during season 4 of the Brady Bunch. So the second to the last season of Brady Bunch, they were doing Brady Kids. So Cindy still had the pigtails. If they had done it, I think during season 5, I think Cindy's hair would have been out and different, and they might have had Robbie Wrist on it and had Cousin Oliver.
I was going to say, did cousin Oliver ruin that too?
I don't like to consider that. I met Robbie Wrist, and he's so great. And
I'm
I
sure.
love
I'm just joking.
No. People always say he ruined Brady Bunch, but Brady Bunch ruined Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't just Brady Bunch that ruined Brady Bunch. It was like the changing of the times. Basically, I would say Norman Lear ruined Brady Bunch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not his fault. It's just the networks just wanted to go more towards that kind of comedy show. So you saw All in the Family, you saw Mary Tyler Moore, you saw Bob Newhart show. That was the direction of sitcoms that people wanted to go and not do this hokey, stupid family comedies like they always did in the 60s. So
sure.
It's like Brady Bunch was the last bastion of the family goofy sitcom. And then great sitcoms came after that. But it's not Norman Lear's fault. It's just that the networks wanted edgier,
different stuff. Audience has changed. But Andy, I only said that as a joke because it's like
I know.
It's like when people say that Ted McGinley killed Love Boat.
Well, he did. Ted McGinley killed Happy Days. He killed Love Boat. He was the devil of ratings poison. No, Robbie Wrist, there was a short-lived sitcom on Saturday morning called Big John, Little John, where I forget the name of the actor. He was a teacher, and he went and drank from the fountain of youth, and he would turn into Robbie Wrist. I actually joked with Robbie about that. I was like, we should redo Big John, Little John, only you're Big John now. And then when you turn into Bigger John, you're just trapped in a coffin.
I'd be like, oh no.
Get me out. Anyway.
Well, so those are great. It's a laundry list of stuff, but there's so many great cartoons, especially kind of in the 70s and 80s.
No, but Hanna-Barbera, I can go off on a list of Hanna-Barbera. I loved Hey, It's the Hair Bear Bunch, which is basically the plot of Hogan's Heroes in a cartoon. I loved Speed Buggy, Hong Kong Phooey, all of that stuff. Anything from like the early 70s, even like CB Bears. They tried to do Banana Splits again, only on skates. It was called Skatebirds, and that's where the Three Robonic Stooges came from.
Yeah.
And I loved that. Such a stupid idea, but yeah.
They held out as long as they could.
Hanna-Barbera.
Mm-hmm.
It was like there's so many stupid ideas that they were like, yeah, sure. So like,
yeah, it doesn't cost anything to make. Let's just try it.
Was the amazing golden age because they would only do one season. So you're like, hey, I got a story about a boot that comes to life and kicks people around. And they're like, let's give it a season. And that's how Turbo Teen came to life. Now, the Turbo Teen, to be fair, was Ruby Spears. And Ruby Spears got their start through Hanna-Barbera. Ruby Spears created Scooby-Doo.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they branched off into their own kind of adjacent studio. So they did Plastic Man. They did Mighty Man and Yuck. They did Thundar the Barbarian. Mm-hmm. They always, every single intro to a Ruby Spears, you can tell it's a Ruby Spears cartoon because they had an announcer tell the whole story of what the cartoon is about in the open of the show.
Yeah.
And it was the exact same mold for every single show they did. So like go back and look at Ruby Spears action intros, and it's the same guy, basically the same music saying, it's 1997 and the world has been blown apart 1,000 years later, and that's where Thundar comes.
It's basically it's like the Mork and Mindy cartoon, but it's Robin Williams needed more money for cocaine, so here we are.
Yet he didn't. Well, never mind. I love Robin Williams.
Everybody loves Robin Williams.
I can't joke about Robin Williams in that way. I don't know. I think there was a thing. Was Ron Howard in the Happy Days gang, or was it just the Fonz? It was Fonz in the Happy Days gang.
I thought that was later, like when it like split.
I don't think Ron Howard was in it.
There's an animated Ralph Mouth. I'm pretty sure.
Donny Most was in it.
Yeah.
And Henry Winkler was in it. I don't remember if
a dog and a little
dog.
Jacket.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, then there was a Laverne and Shirley, and I guess they made some deal with Gary Marshall at the time.
He's like, I got a
Gary Marshall was brilliant in the Duck Dodgers cartoon in the 2000s or so.
Plus A League of Their Own. It's fine.
Well, yeah.
Who doesn't love that movie? Come on. Even if you don't.
Where did he play? He and what was it? Shoot, there was a movie where he and Penny Marshall played a married couple. It was some kind of alien movie or something. Mm-hmm. I can't remember that one. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
I diverged.
No.
I go off on tangents.
And it's okay. This is just supposed to be kind of a friendly, open-ended conversation. So we're in the moment. It's fine. It's part improv. It's part of just having a good time. But
well, I enjoy this because I never get to talk about what a nerd I am for cartoons and sci-fi. I'm gonna yawn.
It's okay. I'm a huge fan of the Filmation stuff. I was one of those people that, my first exposure to like Star Trek, to bring those two together. Star Trek the Animated Series was on reruns on Nickelodeon.
It's on MeTV Tunes now on Saturday nights if you want to catch it.
Yeah, no, I don't
like to throw people towards that network, but still, it's there.
Yeah,
I'm jealous they have it.
Yeah,
it was
great.
Fun. It was weird. It was weird to me because I liked Sid and Marty Krofft. Mm-hmm. Hated Captain Cool and the Kongs, all with the letter K. Captain Cool and the Kongs did the TV show that had Dr. Shrinker, Electro Woman, and Dyna Girl, and Wonder Bug.
Yeah.
And it was all basically done in Atlanta. And so all of the world of Sid and Marty Krofft was almost kind of a theme park. So they would shoot stuff, at least Captain Cool and the Kongs, they would shoot there. And they would have like like a museum, or I don't know what all they had there. I think they had a skating rink. And that, after Ted launched CNN at the old mansion on Techwood Drive, where Cartoon Network started, moved CNN, bought CNN Center, which was, back in the day, the world of Sid and Marty Krofft. So the world of Sid and Marty Krofft kind of just died off, was for sale, and so that's where CNN is now.
It's a storied history.
Yeah. So when I first worked at CNN, that's, the biggest thing I remember is this long escalator that goes up to like the 4th floor from the 1st floor. And I think that was the entrance into the park, and then you make your way down or something. I don't remember all that much, but yeah, I worked at CNN thinking, wow, this is where Captain Cool and the Cogs played. An awful show. Go back and look at that and try not to barf. The characters in that were just so awful and over the top and stupid. It hurts my head to watch that show. Anyway.
No, it's all
and
right.
Wonderbug. I loved Wonderbug because it was very Speed Buggy like, but I loved Wonderbug. But it's just unwatchable now. Sorry.
No, it's okay, and it makes sense. It's all that stuff. It's tough to watch with modern eyes and stuff. You're a more sophisticated audience now.
Everybody is.
Yeah.
Even the dumbest person is more sophisticated.
Well, I don't think it was just they thought much of kids.
I can't even imagine. I can't imagine the days, because my dad watched every Saturday morning cartoon and show with us, and I can't imagine what would possess him to sit and watch some of this crap with us. But anyway.
Did he have like a Reader's Digest
because he loved
down
us.
on the couch next to him?
Huh?
Reader's Digest, where you could pull it out every so often and
no, he would just sit in
Vidal
his
was up to
chair with us, just patiently wait for Tarzan or something to come on. Just
patiently waiting for golf.
Smoking. My dad smoked until I was in high school, so I can just picture him in his chair, teasing the dog and smoking while watching Saturday morning cartoons.
It's a memory that.
But he loved every moment of sitting there with us as kids, just seeing us be mesmerized by all this crap. And he was never more proud than when I got the job at Cartoon and stuff. So, what are you gonna do?
I know. Well, let me ask you this, and not that anybody could tell by the first 20 minutes of this interview, but were you an entertainer as a kid, or was that something that you learned later? Were you always somebody that was looking for the spotlight, or was that just something that happened kind of later in life?
No, as I've said in like previous other podcasts, I won't go heavily into it. I started like doing a puppet ministry in our church. My family basically did it. It started out at a Christian school I used to go to, so it kind of stemmed from there, but it also stemmed from the company that we bought puppets from did like just normal puppets, but they would also do like body organs and stuff like that, but they also had a tooth, and my dad was a dentist, my mom was a hygienist, and it was a way to go to schools and give like dental hygiene lessons and stuff, was to go and do like, so I got to be the tooth, and I got to act with my dad, and that was great, because my dad was really funny and he was really quick-witted and all that, so it kind of all stemmed from there. And just even as a puppeteer doing puppets in churches and stuff like that, you get that instant audience response, and so that's kind of intoxicating. And then I did theater starting in 8th grade, and kind of never looked back except for like 1 year where I decided I wanted to be a pharmacist my first year in college, and so I didn't do any theater that year, which was bizarre for me. Because you go through high school and stuff, and you do like stupid little improv games and stuff, and everybody thought that I was going to be a comedian or an actor or something like that, and I don't know. I think I wanted a responsible job. And then I made videos with my friend Wally all the time when I was in high school and in college. And I finally went to a college, Asbury College, that my brother went to become a pastor, but he became a history teacher. He's a pastor now. I went to college and they had a really good broadcasting program. And so I thought, at the point where I was getting bad grades and as a psychology major, I thought, well, what do I do that's good and fun? And it was, making videos and stuff. And so I went into broadcasting, and I happened to be there at the right time for a woman named Monica Ganis taught one class. And I happened to be there at the right time. Her husband was going to the seminary. And so she had been a part of original, like, Pee Wee Herman show. She was Mrs. Jelly Roll on the stage with Paul Rubens. She was a regular on the short-lived Billy Crystal Comedy Hour. She was a writer and a regular performer, and she wrote for Mork and Mindy, and she was on a couple episodes of Mork and Mindy, and she taught a course in writing for TV and radio, and that kind of just changed my whole focus in life. And I thought, that's what I want to do, because she encouraged us to write comedy because it was harder. And not everybody in the class could do that, but she, saw something in my writing that was like, this kid can, really go somewhere. And she was always very encouraging through the whole semester. We didn't have like midterms or final exams. Our final exam was to get with 2 other students and do a sitcom pilot. And so we wrote a stupid sitcom about this home shopping network in Butte, Montana. We called it Butte Nights. And we passed. But yeah, I was in theater in high school. I always played the comic relief characters. So Oklahoma, I was Allie Hackham. I was Marcellus Washburn in The Music Man. I always had a different accent than everybody else in the cast. I was in a show called Bells Are Ringing. I can't remember the character's name, but he was this German bookie that would use the answering service as a front for his operations. And I had a German accent. This is the first time I ever did a German accent. I do it for Oglethorpe. I use a German accent for Oglethorpe. And basically, the characters that I did on stage in college basically sounded like him anyway. And so, I had one of the students' parents came up to me afterwards thinking I was a German exchange student. And I was like, no. And that's funny because I've never done a German accent before.
Those are always the perfect opportunities because you have to be like, would you
I
like
should have said yes.
Do you want to hear my American accent?
Kann ich bitte haben eine Bier?
Right.
But yeah, another funny story is that because I did Oglethorpe and did such a good accent and would like swear in German and stuff like that on the show, my ex-wife thought I was fluent in German. So we would go to German every Christmas and go to the Christmas markets. And it wasn't until like the 3rd time we went that I was like, I don't know what these people are saying. I just know how to order stuff. That's all we need to do when we're on vacation.
That's funny.
So
But yeah, no, it's really great though, because it's one of those foundational sort of things that I'm glad that you ended up on the path that you're on, because it's brought a lot of joy to people over the years. That's for sure. But um,
I would love the world and the business to not be so screwed up as it is right now, because
yeah,
all of us, on this side would love to be working so much more than we are. Um, but it's a crazy, crazy world.
it is. I am an under five. Occasionally, I get called to go do things, but it's not very often. And I am not in the union, which I know opens up a lot more doors. But it's one of those things. It's like the old commercial: how do you get a job without experience, and how do you get experience without a job?
That's
And
the thing. That was what was really confusing, because I could never get into the Writers Guild, and I still am not in the Writers Guild, because you apparently have to accomplish stuff. You have to write something that's been made that's
mhm,
in the union. So, had Space Ghost been a union show, I'd probably be in the Writers Guild, but I'm not.
yeah.
I do get a check from the Writers Guild once a year for maybe $35 because I wrote an episode of Crypto the Super Dog, which I believe, what is it? It's May now. I think in 2 weeks they're going to actually air my episode on MeTV Tunes. It's on Sundays on MeTV Tunes. So my episode of Crypto the Super Dog will be on television again. So we'll see what happens with my $35 Writers Guild checks from just that one episode.
Well, it could be worse. It could be like Emo Phillips, who famously carried around that check for being in UHF. It was like 75 cents or something like that.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's they direct deposit stuff now, but back in the day, you get mailed to you a check for a cent, and
Yeah.
it's funny because it costs them more to send it than the actual check.
Listen, we got to get this
But
off the book.
there's a lot of near misses that I've had that I was oh god. I pitched a show for DC to Warner Brothers. I pitched it with Dwayne McDuffie, who was an amazing comic book writer, and he wrote a lot of episodes of Justice League and all this stuff. He was amazing. He came up with the whole African American side of DC. So he created Static Shock and all this stuff. So we were put together to do a show for Warner Brothers. We were going to resurrect the team of the Inferior Five, and it's just the whole plot of the comic book is, what if the Justice League mated and had children and had to retire, and all of the children had the crappiest superpowers ever. And so, yeah, so you had the Jester, you had this big fat, I think he was called the Blimp. He was like the Flash, but he was slowest person in the world. There was a character we were changing because her name was Dumb Bunny, and so she was just this dumb blonde, 60s, 70s humor. So we were trying to make her the most powerful one in the group. So we had gotten really far in the pitch, and it was the meeting where we were just about to get greenlit, and all of a sudden, like, the head of DC was like, "I've never heard of this before," and it just died that day.
Yeah.
And after that pitch meeting, like, Dwayne called me and he was like, "I've never had that happen to me before." And he was pissed. You tell, like, the indignity of it all. He was like, "I don't know what just happened. I've never had anybody." It's like getting a door slammed in your face. And I think that's one of my main, it's not a regret. It's just like, It's one of the main projects I've worked on that just I constantly still mourn the death of that, just because Dwayne was just so amazing to work with. And I just, am amazed that I had the extreme honor to work with him. He unfortunately passed away early. But yeah, I mean, that was like a really bright moment just working with Dwayne. He was just so cool. Anyway,
Well, I'm sorry the opportunity didn't work out. I know that
I am too. It would have been funny. It would have been great. I don't know how many seasons we would have done, but it would have been great. It was almost it wasn't exactly the Tick, but it was kind of that Ben Edlund type of humor. I wasn't, we almost did a crossover with the Tick on Space Ghost Coast to Coast. We were going to have Space Ghost interview the Tick because the Tick was really popular at the time, and Ben was really into it, and we were really into it, and then Fox was like, "No," at the last minute, so that never happened either.
Well, they were protecting the show that they were just going to cancel in 6 months anyway.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it would have elongated the show's airtime.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Well,
He's under the desk now.
Yeah. Well, you got your break into television. You went to go and you were working at CNN, and then you moved from CNN over to the fledgling Cartoon Network.
2 months after the launch, yes. I started in December 1st. It launched October 1st of 92. I started at CNN in December of 91. So I worked there exactly a year. Yes.
What were some of the very first projects you worked on?
Cartoon or CNN?
Oh, it's either.
CNN, I worked in the recording studio, and I would have to like set people up for their interviews that were not live. So I got up close and personal with Newt Gingrich at some point. I was happy that whoever was
interviewing, being really evil like Newt.
I know well, I had to put my hand up his shirt and stick my finger in his ear, micing him and putting the thing in his ear. And then whoever interviewed him just completely pissed him off because he just got up and he was like, ripping everything off. And I was like, yay, I don't have to touch him anymore. But then later, I interviewed Susan Powder for Space Ghost, dressed as Space Ghost, in the studio I first worked at CNN, and that was kind of humiliating. But I just worked my way up through CNN. But the only thing I did at Cartoon Network was programming. Khaki Jones programmed the half-hour shows like Flintstones and Jetsons and stuff like that. I was put in charge of the shorts. So it wasn't just Bugs Bunny, Popeye, Tom and Jerry. Who else? Bugs Bunny, Popeye, Tom and Jerry. Oh, crap. Anyway.
Tex Avery, Roadrunner.
Yeah. The MGM cartoons. But it was also all of the shorts from basically every single show from the beginning, it didn't include Rough and Ready, but everything from Huckleberry Hound show to, I want to say, Chattanooga Cats. Chattanooga Cats had It's the Wolf, Motor Mouse, it had Motor Mouse and Auto Cat, I forget the third one. Those were part of a show called Chattanooga Cats in '69. So every Hanna-Barbera short from 1958, that was Huckleberry Hound in 1969. So everything from Megilla, Peter Potamus, Adamant, Secret Squirrel, Huck Yogi, Quick Draw. Quick Draw has some weird music rights BS to it, and that's why you don't see Quick Draw that much anymore. I wish they would figure that out and put Quick Draw back on, because it would be nice to see Quick Draw, Snooper and Blabber, and Augie Doggy again. Mostly you just see Huck and Yogi, which includes Pixie and Dixie, Hokey Wolf, Yacky Doodle, and that other one, Snagglepuss. Quick Draw, they were going to put Quick Draw out on video, but something hit the brakes on that. I think it was music rights. Yeah. So I wish somebody would figure that out, because
just update.
That was one of my favorites. Was Augie Doggy and Quick Draw. Snooper and Blabber. When I got to Cartoon Network, I had seen that so little that it was almost new to me seeing those shorts. But I scheduled all of those, and I did that for a good long time. Even when we started doing Space Ghost, even when we were doing Cartoon Planet, I scheduled all of those cartoons. And Cartoon Planet, that was the only time I scheduled cartoons for TBS, because Cartoon Planet started on TBS, and it was our little segments in between cartoons with not just like Bugs and Daffy and stuff, but we also did, we would put on Hanna-Barbera. We would mix Hanna-Barbera and the theatricals, which I think before that time was kind of a sacrilegious thing. I don't know why it was, but if you look back on the creators of the Hanna-Barbera shorts and stuff, you'll find that a lot of the early stuff in the early 60s were written by Michael Maltese, who did the majority of Bugs Bunny Warner Brothers cartoons. And they were directed by Alex Lovey, who did a lot of Woody Woodpecker. So Joe Barbera, Bill Hanna pulled that talent in to make, Huck Hound and Yogi Bear and Quick Draw McGraw shorts. So you had that original Bugs Bunny writer basically, doing stuff for TV. And of course the gags had to be a little simplified because TV animation was reused and repetitive, but you had to have somebody like Michael Maltese who was like an excellent gag writer to really kind of make the cartoons funny and make them pop. So I'm a nerd.
It's just fine though. I love this stuff too, so I'm with you. I don't understand why there would be an issue with mixing the stuff, especially when it's airing on television. And a lot of these,
as far as I was concerned, especially with like Cartoon Planet, it was kind of Cartoon Planet was like anything goes, and anything goes so much. But by the time we moved it to Cartoon Network, we started getting more fan mail than anything else. Yeah. And so that's when we decided to cut out the cartoons and make longer Cartoon Planet segments and add more songs and all that stuff. And I've had online, chats on Twitter and stuff with TV's Frank from Mystery Science Theater 3000. We were kind of like waxing poetic about how we were the only two shows at the time, Cartoon Planet and Mystery Science Theater, that actually would answer real viewer mail. Yeah. We would actually throw the mail up on the screen and just answer them, just write whatever answer we could to answer them on the air.
It's a loss.
You have sure. They had Mystery Science Theater had the luxury of excitedly going to the to the post office to get their big bag of fan mail, but everything that we got went through Cartoon Network. So, and oftentimes, if you got an autograph at Brak, it was unfortunately an intern or somebody in marketing.
Oh. Everybody's just trying to make the kids happy. But
I love when I'm in a con and somebody says, "Hey, this was my favorite. I loved this my whole life." Just look at them like, "Bless your heart." Sign it.
Hey, can I sign it again for you?
Now it's really signed.
All right. It's doubly signed. It's now doubly. Now
you have a story on top of your story.
Did you, with the return or with this new season of Mystery Science Theater that they're working on right now? I guess you brought up the PO box, and they worked to try to get the same PO box there in Hopkins, but I guess
that would have been cool.
It would have been super
cool. It would have been amazing.
Yes, and the post office there as well.
I really wanted to be part of that.
Mail from
I was in LA when they were shooting that, and I was like, so many people online were like, "Why aren't you doing that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why aren't I doing that?" I just wasn't close to those guys at the time, and I think Joel kind of got screwed over by Lazo when he made like an open for Coast to Coast. You can see it on
it's on
YouTube. It's the Space Ghost Coast to Coaster, and so you have this really cool MST3K type of open. Yep. There's a guy dressed as Space Ghost, kind of in silhouette. That guy is Paul Feig.
Oh,
director
I know that
Paul
guy.
Feig. You know his name. Mm-hmm. He played Space Ghost in those, and I'm like,
I didn't know that.
If we had just had a relationship with these guys, that just would have been just too perfect and too cool.
Yeah,
because I never missed MST3K. I never missed an episode.
Yeah, Feig's funny because he shows
even
up.
when it went to Sci-Fi. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say Feig is funny because he's in TV Wheel stuff, or what Joel originally called like the Xbox, so he's in those specials and stuff that he made for HBO, and that was some of my first exposure to him.
God, it just would have been nice to have some kind of a pipeline between us and them. It just would have been just too cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
Those were the good old days, but it just would have been nice to have been part of that kind of relationship. It wasn't like we would have been, married. We would have been kind of like the distant uncle or something, distant cousins,
right?
Getting together every once in a while to do something cool. I think that would have been fun.
Yeah, I just need to be the weird neighbor on the sitcom that runs for 100 episodes and then gets a movie. It's fine.
Yeah,
all any of us need, right?
Yeah, come on.
Well, we've beat around the bush a lot about this show, and maybe the thing that a lot of the viewers at home are going to be most familiar with is going to be this little show that we've only name dropped about 30 times since we started. Space Ghost Coast to Coast. I have several discs here with various episodes on them.
Look at those.
I know, like it's none of this anymore. It's all they got all the TV on computers now. You don't have some disc you got to stick in a special.
You know what? It's good. No, it's good to have a hard copy of everything.
Yes, especially when
I don't even think I have that many episodes.
These are the tough ones. These were the ones that were in retail like everywhere. You could just go. There's
the one up front that you're showing now that had that one. That first one is
that's volume one.
Mostly hard for me to watch.
It's the oldest kind of the original stuff. Yeah,
it's groany.
Well, it's everybody's trying to get their feet right. You're trying to figure out.
You got to start somewhere. So there you go.
True. Yeah, it's like that first 2 seasons of Mama's Family, even maybe even NBC.
It sets it up.
Needed to be retooled.
Yeah, it sets it up.
Listen,
I've been watching the first season of Star Trek: The Next Generation. This might be a unpopular opinion.
Dorothy
But
Fontana doesn't watch this show. You could say anything you want to say.
It's crap.
Yeah.
First season of Next Generation. That was for the nerds.
Yeah.
That came out when I was in college, and it was like the best thing ever. But like you watch it now, and it's like, how did this get picked up for another season? But once Roddenberry's pull on the show kind of got weaker, it just started to blossom a bit.
I agree with this.
Anyway.
I think like that first season, especially with not allowing anybody to have, there's no interpersonal conflict. Everything, all the drama had to come from the outside. It's like, I think that's what made DS9 so great, is that these people could just actively fight and not get along. And
right, because the lore was there. Yeah. But once you got Marina Sirtis not yanking her hair out in some stupid pulled back hairdo in the first season, and once they had Worf stop going to the barber, I think it got a little better.
Yeah, I think so too.
And that's just the look of the show.
Yeah,
when they stopped wearing the onesies.
Yes, I was going to say season 3 is definitely, we're firing on all cylinders, and that's when you start to get some really.
That's like with every show, though. Season 3 is always. Season 3 has Andy Griffith. It has some of the best episodes.
Yeah,
that
season.
I'm talking sitcoms now.
I'm just saying that's when you get rid of Betty White, you get rid of Rue McClanahan, you let them go and do some Golden Girls.
No, I got the Dick Van Dyke Show and Andy Griffith are my mostly go-to sitcoms.
Newhart, when they gave up the idea of the Stratford.
See, I love Bob Newhart, but I'm more of the Mary Tyler Moore, Bob Newhart show.
Sure.
Early sitcom people. So, Newhart had its moments, but you had that. I don't know. I'm more of a MASH person up until a point.
Sure. Do you watch the UK version without the laugh track?
They put that on DVD. So I got the DVD set when it came out, and you had the option to watch it without the laugh track, and it is better, and you don't miss it. You really don't miss it at all.
Well, it's not like
it's so much more interesting without being told where to laugh. Plus, I hear because it's Paramount, and so is the Brady Bunch. So I'll hear the same laugh in the Brady Bunch as I will in MASH, and it drives me crazy. There's this like inhaling laugh that they used all the time that you hear it in Gilligan's Island and Brady Bunch all the time, and then you hear it in MASH, and you're like, oh yeah, it drives me crazy.
It's like that Reinheld Weege laugh in like Barney Miller and Night Court. That the over the top laugh. They even have it in the end credits just in case you missed it somehow during the episode.
I worked with somebody that used to work on Hannah Montana. He worked on some of the Disney shows. And there would be a dedicated person sitting on the set when they would read the lines. So they would read a funny line that was supposed to get the laugh track, and the person on set would just go, ha ha! Just to give them that pause.
Yes.
And they would cut it out of every episode and put the laugh track over it. But literally, there was someone on set next to the camera just going, ha ha ha!
Well, I guess you got to know. You get the hype person. Like you go to...
I didn't understand is when Scooby-Doo had the laugh track. Because I thought, as a kid, are they showing this cartoon to an audience and that's where they're getting the laughs? I didn't understand. It register in my head why Scooby-Doo had a laugh track.
Futurama does a really good callback to that, because they even say, like, they have an episode that mocks Scooby-Doo, and they're like, why are people laughing? Nothing funny is happening.
At some point, I went in and took old episodes of Galaxy Trio and Space Ghost from 1981, those episodes, and I put laugh tracks to it. And I think we would air it after Coast to Coast on Friday nights.
Yes, I've seen some of those.
Yeah, those were dumb. But you wanted to talk about the show.
Yeah, we can if you'd like.
You know, everybody's heard the origin of the show.
Yeah. I'm more interested in the production side of it. And my understanding of all the stuff is we got all these press tour and all these pressers that people record and stuff, and we've got like a library of tapes. We can just go in and we can have like a little fake interview with anybody, and we can make people look a little silly by asking weird questions.
You're talking about like junkets? We never did junket. We did one junket.
Yes,
we did one junket, and that was for The Mask, and that's how we got Jim Carrey on the show. Now, we did junkets when I worked on a show called Fridays later. It wasn't really a show. It was just a bunch of packaging that we made kind of to look like Laugh-In or some kind of stupid comedy variety show. And I had a puppet character, and we would take our hosts to New York or California, and we would like cover movie premieres. So we would do, 4 of the Harry Potter movies I know we did. So we would just go and do junkets. We got to go and cover the third Space Wars, Star Wars movie, Revenge of the Sith, and we actually went to Skywalker Ranch and interviewed George Lucas and other people on the film at the ranch. That was insane. We went and covered The Impossible. No, is it The Impossibles? Yeah, The Impossibles at Pixar. And Jason Lee,
The Incredibles,
during that whole night. The Incredibles. Damn it! The Impossibles is first F word was a Hanna-Barbera product. The Incredibles. Yeah, we covered The Incredibles at Pixar, and Jason Lee gave our host a tour of Pixar. We met Brad Bird, and I can't believe I said Impossible.
It's okay.
It's Frankenstein Jr. and The Impossibles, you dumbass. That was another thing. I would schedule the action cartoons together in the early days of Cartoon Network. So I'll name them all off and be a nerd, but I won't.
Well,
so yes, yeah.
But the idea of the show, everybody's familiar with the premise. The premise is you have, Space Ghost, you've got Zorak, you've got Moltar, and basically Space Ghost is doing interviews against these kind of, for a very long time, pre-recorded segments from these press junkets, so that way that you could... No. Okay. No. Well, see, we made it look like Moltar was... Yeah. We made it look like Moltar was the one that went and got the guests. But no, it wasn't press junkets. It was actually, we had a talent booker. They would get us guests, and if they had anything to plug... we never paid the guests. So I don't know how we got our first guests, but some guests led to other guests, So the first kind of big get for us was getting Don Wells, Bob Denver, and Russell Johnson. We did a Gilligan show. And so we would send the shows around to get people interested to be on the show. So the Ramones saw a Gilligan episode, and they were like, we want to be on this. And so we had a special studio. We brought the Ramones in. We interviewed the Ramones. And so the Ramones being on the show opened up everything to us. There was like people wanted to be on the show. David Byrne wanted to be on the show. Michael Stipe, who never, ever did interviews, was like, I'm going to drive to Atlanta and be on the show.
We were like, yes, sir. And then, so most of it was not Junket.
Mhm.
They were all shot in like a CNN studio or a local studio or something. And we always interviewed people over the phone, but they usually had something to plug that we would never plug on the show because it would just date the episode.
Right.
Had we done junkets, we would have had to plug shit on the show, and we didn't. We weren't all about that. So after a while, guests knew what they were in for. They knew they were going to be taken out of context. Donny Osmond really was excited. He knew that anything we talked about in the interview was not going to be used in the way that we talked to him. He just always razzed us about it. Who else? We would go to comedy conventions. We went to the comedy festival in Aspen, and we got a really great interview with Bob Odenkirk and David Cross, who are really into it. Dave Willis, I think, flew to LA and interviewed Tenacious D, who really wanted to be on the show.
Yeah.
We booked Conan finally. And so Dave went to New York and had dinner with Conan. It was after a taping of an episode of Conan O'Brien, and basically sat and worked and interviewed Conan for like an hour. David Letterman's old flame and writer Merrill Marco was always amazing to have on the show. She was on twice. But most of the time, no, it wasn't junkets. It was us having talent bookers, you know. And we would get people that most of the time, you know, we weren't that surprised to get like musicians and stuff after doing the Ramones, but we would be really surprised sometimes because we would get Charlton Heston, or we would get just people like that. But we would also go to festivals. We went to some festival. Dave went to a festival, some San Francisco thing, and that's where we interviewed Goldie Hawn and Adam Yauch from Beastie Boys. And all they wanted to do, we basically had to just like blow those interviews out because all they wanted to talk about was the Dalai Lama and stuff like that. It just depended on where we interviewed people and when. But yeah, we only did one junket, and that was for The Mask.
Yeah.
That's how we got Cameron Diaz and Jim Carrey. It was an honor. We got Steve Allen. I got to interview Steve Allen. And that was just an honor for me because I always
my favorite Tonight Show host.
He was gonna write some songs for us, and it was gonna cost way too much. But he and I had a back and forth with Brak because he said he knew how to talk Brakese. So he basically invented Brak's language. Weird Al Yankovic, I interviewed Weird Al because I was such a big fan. He was so excited to be on the show. A lot of times it's just people really excited to be part of the show and on the show. So, yeah. I was supposed to do a podcast with somebody. Somebody did their podcast on the origins of Coast to Coast and how we did things on the show, and 90% of what they were saying was wrong. And I was supposed to do last weekend their podcast and just come on and just razz the crap. Yeah. It'll happen at some point, but I was too busy.
It's like the name of the episode is Mom and Terry, not Dad
sister.
and Terry. Get it right.
But yeah, it's funny. How many people? Where did you hear that we just did junkets? That's a weird piece of info.
Well, it's a weird piece of info that got you to talk about the real way that it was done.
You threw me a curveball.
You're like, everybody knows how this was done,
no,
Ron.
Fuck that. This is how it was done.
That's exactly right. It's the easiest way to get the correct answer on the internet is to say the wrong answer.
To rile people up.
Yeah.
No.
So it was a great way to get you to talk about how that stuff was all done in an interesting and entertaining way. See, it all worked
Shut
out
up.
to the audience's benefit. But something I want to ask you, you get so many great interviews, and that was super great, because that was one of my questions here, is like who some of your favorite or most memorable interviews were with. But I
said, but I didn't do that much interviewing because I was not very good at it. Dave Willis did most of the interviews. Sometimes we would bring people in, actors or whatever. In the early days, we would bring in an actor and have him dress as Space Ghost and just read through the questions, and that just kind of sucked after a while. Yeah. It was easier to put Space Ghost picture to the left of the camera, so they knew.
Just give me a mark. Where am I supposed to look?
Yeah. So they weren't supposed to look directly into the camera. If they looked to the left of the camera, then they were looking at Space Ghost. I could be wrong. It could be to the right, but to the left, I think mostly that's what it was. And they would talk to Space Ghost like this, and then Space Ghost would be over here or wherever. And so they're making more eye contact, even though they're on a monitor with Space Ghost, than actually just looking into the camera. And usually it was just a picture taped up next to the lens on the camera that people were talking to while Dave or somebody else interviewed them over the phone.
Well, it worked, because I mean it ran for like about a bajillion episodes, and
there's a couple people that copy it. I know Dana Gould does kind of like an interview segment where if the
Dr.
person's
Zayas.
in a monitor, Dr. Zayas, he does kind of it does it kind of Space Ghost style. So yeah.
I got to meet him a couple of years ago. He's an interesting guy.
I love him. Yeah, we're friends.
Oh, that's great.
We'll like text one another every once in a while when there's something big happening.
I happen to be in an event at the what's the weird looking theater in LA that's like the dome that's got like the ziggy zaggy out front, something a Rama Dome or something. I happen to be in
yeah.
I happen to be in an event.
That's the there. 78. Is it 78 millimeter? That's where you see like the big widescreen movies if you want to see the way they were originally intended.
Yeah, I happened to be in an event there, and he was
CinemaScope
there too,
or whatever.
Bumped into him in the lobby.
I love him.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
I'm begging him to come to Nashville and do a show at Zany's so I can open for him. I'm trying to get back into the comedy thing. I'm trying to get back on stage. So it's hard when you move to a new place because you basically have to start all over again.
Yeah. You got to get your rep. You got to know the bookers. You got to know all the people. So
yes, you got to join yet another clique of people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It never ends.
It's not, but then you get on stage, and usually in Columbus, they kind of treated me kind of a little more royally because of who I was, and they would like put me on last. And I always felt bad for the audience because you have, every once in a while, you'll find a diamond in the rough. Some 19-year-old kid who's just funny, who just does not the norm. But then you'll just have all these other cliquish comedians get on, just tell dick jokes for like an hour. And my goal every time I go on stage now is just to give people a break from all of that crap, so I know that probably doesn't put me in a good light with other comedians, but I just get sick of the same old crap, so I'll just get up and do a song or something just to lighten the mood.
Yeah, wait a minute, you're on a dating app? You're on a dating app? Oh my gosh, I want to hear at least 5 minutes about this. Come on.
You two girls in front, I bet you're dating. You shut up. Just shut up.
Wait a minute.
Your get up and do a song. And once you do like a stupid song that makes people laugh, you kind of start having them in the palm of your hand. You can just do anything. So, it's so easy now to get up and do stuff without I don't even write half of the time anymore. I'll just sing a song that's really stupid and then just pop off whatever's at the top of my head at the moment. And usually that does pretty well. So I'm really kind of itching to get back on stage because I've got a lot that I've been thinking about here and there. It's not that I don't write, it's just that I keep it all pent up until I regurgitate on stage.
Okay. It's the outlet. The stage is the outlet. I get it.
Yeah, and I've got a lot to outlet. So hopefully I can get on stage soon before I go insane.
Well, I hope you do too. The again, the coast to coast stuff, really great. Thank you for everything. This is one of the amazing shows. I just remember.
Did you want to talk more about it? I mean, we can.
No, because there's other stuff I'd love to talk to you about. So,
yeah, sure.
And so we can move past that. It's okay. But I did want to say that I'm one of those people that would catch Coast to Coast on like a Friday night, like before Adult Swim was a thing. That it was just like that really late slot on.
We were the catalyst for Adult Swim, but
yeah. That's what opened this whole thing up and made all that made it possible to buy a bunch of cartoons that ran for a single season but didn't fit in with Cartoon Network's regular sort of thing. So your Baby Blues and your Oblongs and your all the like your Mission Hills and all the stuff that's
plus we kind of started the whole 15-minute cartoon genre, so that made it easier for people to come up with crazy shit. That was easy to produce.
Yeah, and it also exposes stuff that absolutely works on that, like that 12-minute or 15-minute sort of time block.
Right?
So
because it doesn't always work that way.
It doesn't work as a 22. It's but it definitely works as like a real short subject kind of thing.
But it's kind of in the realm of original Hanna-Barbera because you started off with Huck, and all of those cartoons were 7 minutes and 5 seconds. So it's like you have a multiple show, and they're like made up of 3 shorts. And so we just kind of came up with like you could have a half an hour. You just put 2 shorts together.
Yeah, but it's great. And again, it was groundbreaking at the time that you would even try something like that. But so what I'll say is this: it pushed a lot of boundaries. The show changed a lot over the years. You guys did do a couple of like longer episodes, like there's the 22-minute Fire Ant where it's basically Space Ghost just kind of following a little fire ant around.
That was basically just to see if we could annoy the audience.
Yeah,
Plus, it was also Lazo. Well, it was also Lazo saying to Dave, "We need to make this show perfect because Conan's on it. We know he's going to watch it. We want him to love it. Yeah. So we want it to be like crazy and different and weird." So that's kind of where Fire Ant came from. Basically, Fire Ant was made mostly to impress Conan, I think.
Well, who was Warren made to impress? That one's 35 minutes. That's
after me, I think.
Okay. Well,
that's after I left.
Okay. Were you around for Snatch with Stephen Wright? That's the Body Snatcher episode?
No, I wasn't part of that either.
Okay. All right. Well, let's spin on and talk about something that you were definitely part of, which is Cartoon Network, which we talked about for a second earlier. But really what I think is super interesting is that, it's a host show. It's basically we've got some bumpers and stuff that are kind of pushing the cartoon shorts that, Cartoon Network was licensed for, or TBS really was licensed for. And
you're talking about Cartoon Planet.
Cartoon Planet. Network. Oh, I'm sorry. Pardon me.
No, Cartoon Planet was it was Scott Sassa saw the momentum of Space Ghost, and Ted had already given us his blessing. Fred Seibert was like all over it, and I think Scott Sassa went. He was the head of TBS at the time. I think he went to Lazo, but I think he also went to Fred Seibert and asked about us creating a Space Ghost hosted cartoon show for TBS. And I remember getting a letter from Cybert saying, Cartoon Planet is so funny and we love this and all that. But yeah, they took me out of because I had made it through like 10 episodes, working for like a year and a half on Space Ghost, and I was starting to get burned out because I didn't like how it was being run or anything like that. And so I was like, I'm just going to go back to programming because I was still programming the shorts on the network throughout that whole time. And Sasa was like, we want this. And so Lazo was like, hey, you pair up with their on-air guy, Pete Smith, whose campaign right before he started working on Cartoon Planet was very Cartoon Planet. It was very, the song was by Pete and Eddie Horst. And the campaign was, this is who we are and here is what we do. It was just these little funny ding-dong ads for TBS. And so they put Pete and I together to do Cartoon Planet. And so we just kind of, I don't know, we just fashioned it after just a hosted cartoon show with bickering, That was basically what it was. It wasn't like Space Ghost. We took Moltar out. Brak was becoming popular because of the Christmas episode of Coast to Coast. And so we put Brak in as a foil to basically both because, he was so weird and stupid. But so, yeah, you've got Space Ghost. You've got two cartoon hosts bickering over shit, and then you've got Brak coming in and going, I don't know what's happening, and stuff. And we did a lot of like doopy ding dong songs, and it was such a more improvised show than anything else that I had done before than Space Ghost was, because we block booked recording session like 2 hours every week, and Pete and I would write stuff, and it would take us maybe half an hour to 45 minutes to get through the scripts, and then we would have this whole big huge block of time in audio. And that's when we brought in needle drop music and stuff, and I would just make up songs. And we hired, as an assistant, we hired Dave Willis. And he was there from the beginning, strictly to work on Cartoon Planet. And so Dave, backed me up. We did, it was Don't Touch Me and Highway 40 came from the same, one of the first record sessions. And it was just extra time in the studio, and Dave said, you just went in there and just made that shit up in like 10 minutes and it was done. And it's like some of the most, it's got the most stay power in the whole show, I think. And that was just me being stupid in the booth. Dave, Dave, I don't think we interviewed Dave Willis. Dave later, created Aqua Teen and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But we didn't interview Dave Willis. We were looking for an assistant. And so we had interviewed a couple people. And then Dave sent in his resume, and then he sent in this recommendation letter. And his sister at the time was a kindergarten teacher. So he wrote this uber serious recommendation letter, gave it to his sister, and had one of her students write it in his handwriting in crayon on 3-ruled note paper. It's like, David R. Willis is an exceptional, just like all this serious adult recommendation letter with like pictures of a house and a rocket. And we laughed at that for like, I don't know, a half an hour and 45 minutes. And you're like, Let's bring him in. And I guess we acted like we were interviewing, and towards the end, he was just kind of looking at us, and we were looking at him, and he's like, "So?" I was like, "Yeah, you were hired before we even brought you in here." And so I think he was a good fit. But Dave would initially write viewer mail until we actually got viewer mail to answer.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fun show to work on. It was just crazy, zany nuttiness, and we did it for like 3 years. We made like 600 or so little short pieces with songs. We put out 2 CDs, and then Warner Brothers bought the company and wanted 28 episodes of Space Ghost Coast to Coast, and that's what ended Cartoon Planet, because they first brought Dave in, and then they had to have Pete and I stop doing Cartoon Planet and start working on Space Ghost. And so you'll notice in 98 there's like a shift in the show, because we tried to bring, Pete and I at least tried to bring some of that Cartoon Planet sensibility into Space Ghost Coast to Coast. So you see a little more musical numbers and stuff like that in Coast to Coast.
Yeah, I would say that maybe that is the era that a lot of people kind of look to as like firing on all cylinders. That's the season 3 of Next Gen for Coast to Coast.
Well, Cartoon Planet was such a weird thing, because what we would do was record it, animate it, throw it on the air. We did not really send much, if anything, to standards and practices, because Pete and I knew like the sweet spot of what would get rejected and what would be accepted. So we pretty much just, it was just a freight train just rolling down the track. We like barely showed it to anybody. We barely showed it to Lazo, I think, we started showing Lazo scripts, and after a while he was too focused on Coast to Coast that he just didn't care. And so just that lack of Lazo caring and knowing what would piss off standards and practices, we just rolled through as much as we could with Cartoon Planet. And there was a time, it was a scary time for some people, I think, that Cartoon Planet was on at 6 o'clock. And we would do live cut-ins. So I would go into a booth at 6 o'clock and do all of the live bumps. We'll be right back, and now back to this. I would do them live on the air as Brak. We would just put up a Cartoon Planet logo that was moving, and I would just say, so I would write scripts for Lazo, and he would approve them, and then I would go in the booth and throw them away. Because I like the idea of 3, 2, 1, my brain just going, oh shit, and just like saying whatever. And that was a lot of fun until they didn't want us to do that anymore. And it wasn't that that I slipped up or did anything. It was just, I think the time slot changed back to like 11, and they didn't air it at 6 o'clock anymore.
Yeah. Well,
but that was a scary time of me going live on air every day.
Well, you didn't get any FCC fines, so everything must have turned out just fine.
I didn't swear like I do now. I probably would have said something bad. Stay fucking tuned or something like that. That would have been bad. No, I wouldn't have done that.
Well, Andy, let me ask you this. So through all of this, eventually Brak is this breakout character. Everybody loves Brak. you ended up with a couple of shows that were like your shows, because you've got the Brak show, um, or Brak presents the Brak show starring Brak, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Braks. That
That
was
one
like
didn't.
two
That one was
two
gonna. That
episodes.
one. Well, that one was gonna be a regular show,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't because it wasn't that nobody liked it. It wasn't that the ratings were bad. It was that that's when we actually had to pay people to be on the show because we're paying them for a performance.
Right.
And so we had it in the contract that they would get, I don't know, a certain amount, $5,000 or something. And if anybody wanted any more money, then we would have to pay everybody else that amount of money.
Right.
So it just got expensive and stupid. And anyway, who did I see? I just saw Jody Messina's on TikTok now, and I wrote a note. She'll never see it, of like when we're gonna do another duet. Because I recorded the song "We're Buds" on the same mic as like Jody Messina, and I wish that something in her contract wouldn't let that her recording with me. It could only be on the show and not be on the CD. But I wish, God, that we could have shown the first take of that song. And I wish we could have put the recording of it somewhere for people to hear, because I just had her just rolling on the floor throughout the whole first take of the song. And we kept going. We kept going through the whole song. That song initially, We're Buds, was supposed to be me and Randy Newman.
Oh, wow.
But because of Randy Newman's obligation to Disney, he couldn't do it. He really wanted to do it, but he couldn't do it, which would have been amazing. Yeah, it was crazy enough that I recorded with the Chieftains in studio. That was just weird and mind blowing. Yeah, I still remember every part of that record.
Well, it sounds like it was an amazing opportunity to kind of do some once in a lifetime kind of things.
Oh, and recording with like Freddie Prinze Jr. I wish we could have done a lot more, because I really liked, because Brak was really popular at the time, and just seeing how popular he was with the different celebrities and all that. That was I never got to see that. They kind of kept us sheltered most of the time. Lazo always kind of like, put us down, and never realized how popular the characters were. And then, the 30th anniversary came around, and I just would look at all of the stuff that I worked on back in the day that people put on YouTube. And I would just think, holy crap. There was a time Cartoon Network just nothing but Brak. It was crazy to me. And it just never kind of settled in my head. And I'll go do stuff now. Comic-Cons, I just did Joko cruise. And my friends that I met on the cruise, every time we would have lunch or dinner, they would always point out saying, "Oh my gosh, people love you here." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Because I still don't see it, and I don't. It's just this wall that I don't know that I put up over the years that is just still there. That I just don't. I see it at cons occasionally, but I just don't see the adoration or anything like that. December, I did a con with Weird Al, and just seeing how beloved he is, even in the green room. I'm just standing there talking to Al, catching up because we've known each other forever.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, all the cast of like the Next Generation Star Trek that is there come walking up like, "Hey, Al, blah, blah, blah." Turn to me, "Are you with Al?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." It just like freaks me out. And, I kind of felt like they were trying to tell me that on the cruise, my friends were. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it. I'm just stupid like that, I think.
Well, I don't know. You're too close
It's like
to it.
dating. It's like dating, I think. I don't know if somebody likes me or not, or I just get my signals crossed all the time. It's weird. I hate it.
Well, it's we're here
Don't
today.
date in your late 50s.
Oh yeah. That's good advice.
Anyway.
Well,
It sucks.
we're here today to celebrate, your career and all the cool things that you're doing, and not just Brak stuff, but your broader voice acting
I love
career.
talking about the nerdy ass cartoon stuff. I don't get
Yeah.
to do that often, and then I'll like go off on a tangent on Blue Sky or whatever about like Popeye or something, and everybody will be like, "Tell me more of this
Yeah.
knowledge of Popeye you have."
Yeah.
So
Well, and I think
crazy.
that's one of those things. Like people, it's especially stuff that they're not necessarily exposed to, that they're like, here's somebody whose opinion I respect, and I'd like to hear you say more about it. Popeye specifically, I'm from Popeye's hometown. I grew up going to the Popeye picnic every year
Oh wow!
and
Well, you know
competing
what?
in the big wheel race.
I scheduled. It's just I scheduled all of these cartoons
Mhm.
for, good Lord, at least 5 years. So I knew every single cartoon. Warner Brothers wise, I used to be able to tell you with my eyes closed, listening to the first few seconds of the open past Merry-Go-Round broke down. I could tell you, like, just listening to the first few seconds of Warner Brothers cartoons, I could tell you the name, the year, the director, and what the cartoon was about.
Mhm.
I knew Warner Brothers cartoons that well. Most of the time, I knew Tom and Jerry pretty well too.
Yeah.
Tex Avery did so few cartoons at MGM
Yeah.
that those are pretty easy.
Mhm.
But Popeye is a different ilk because Popeye's titles did not always line up with what the cartoon was about. Plus, there were only so many colorized Popeyes that I knew.
Mhm.
Most of them are shown in black and white now, which is how they should be seen. But for a while, yeah, Ted had the Popeye cartoons colorized, which I wasn't totally against. It's good to see those old. It's good to see the Fleischer stuff over
Yeah.
the famous studio stuff because the
Mhm.
Fleischer stuff was just made on a different level. You had more of Jack Mercer mumbling in the background and just almost like the dialogue was improvised in those old black and white Popeye cartoons and the Fleischer stuff. So
Yeah, there is
there
there
I
is
go, nerding out
no,
on
no.
Popeye now.
There's quite a bit of that in the background
Yeah,
of
well,
every
you
one
can
of those.
tell. I mean, you can tell. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can tell in most of those cartoons that they weren't recorded before. You come to an epiphany when you're watching the old black and white Popeyes that you think these were not recorded before the cartoon was made. A lot of times there's a lot of such dialogue based on what's happening at the moment, like they're making stuff up at the time. There's too much coincidence of it being improvised there than any of the other like studios doing Popeye afterwards. So yeah, there was the whole set on a turntable amazement, but then there was also Jack Mercer and Mae Questel just making shit up while they're watching the cartoon.
Well, it's an amazing era, that's for sure. Let's speaking of like the voice acting though, let's talk about your voice acting. Everybody's familiar, Brak. Everybody loves Brak. Don't sweet for Brak. Don't get me wrong, but you know you have popped up on Adventure Time and Gravity Falls and a half dozen other series over the years. Let's talk about.
I met Penn Pendleton. I met Penn Ward at a Cartoon Network Christmas party, and I was gushing about Adventure Time for at least a half an hour, and I could tell he didn't know who I was. I kept seeing him look at his watch and stuff, and then somebody came over to me and said, "Hey, can you do Brak for my voice message?" I was like, "Sure." All of a sudden, you just saw his face change, and he was like, "What?" And I was like, "I'm sorry." He's like, "Why didn't you introduce yourself?" And I was like, I don't do that. You know, that I always feel like that's a selfish thing to just go, "Hey, I'm the voice of Brak." But so like 3 months later, he had written and started doing an episode with a character just for me. That was James.
Yeah,
we did 3 episodes of Adventure Time. Right now, I'm on the spinoff Fiona and Cake on HBO Max. Play a guy called Blade Wizard. I try to make him the least recognizable voice I've ever done. So he's very low. He's very low. He has an English accent and he mumbles a lot, kind of thing. But most of the time, I haven't really had many lines. Most of the times, it's like, "He's rolling around," and so you just got to go. It's like it's all like sound effects and noises. So, yeah, I did that. I did Gravity Falls. I was supposed to be on Fish Hooks for Alex Hirsch, but there was a conflict of interest. God, I even went to the head of the network. I was like, "Can I even just change my name?" He was like, "No, well, no." So I was supposed to be Joctopus, who was the bully on Fish Hooks.
Oh, wow.
I feel like if I was Joctopus, I probably would have gotten a bigger role in Gravity Falls. But I was in the last 3 episodes of Gravity Falls.
Speaking of shows that thankfully got closure, oh my gosh, like that. It was hairy for a while there about whether they were going to wrap that up, get to wrap it up or not.
Oh yeah, and those are like the most aired episodes, so I got a lot of good residuals from Gravity Falls.
That's good.
Trip Tank I've been on. I did like a 7-minute record, and I've been in 5 episodes from that record. There was a show on Nick called Welcome to the Wayne. That was Gravity Falls-ish, and those guys were big Aqua Teen fans, so all of us on Aqua Teen were on that show. I wish it would have gone further because it was fun. It was fun and mysterious. I was in a show that Greenblatt did. Greenblatt did Chowder for Cartoon Network. He did a show called Harvey Beaks on Nickelodeon. I was a character called The Bag. You'll have to look that up. And then Greenblatt did Jellystone.
Yes.
And so they did a tribute episode to Coast where I got to be Brak. That's the only time I make residuals for Brak is that Jellystone episode. And currently I'm on Fiona and Cake and Disney's Kiff. And so Kent Osborne, who EP'd Adventure Time, has been very good to me. He's put me in basically every show he's done since Adventure Time. We did a show called Cat Agent, and it was about a pet cat who was an agent to all the celebrities' pet cats, and I was his evil nemesis called Cat Manager, who was just, Oglethorpe is fun from Aqua Teen just because he's a stupid villain, but Cat Manager was Cat Agent's nemesis, and I really got to be a dick in that show, which was a lot of fun. And currently he's doing Disney's Kiff. So I've been in 4 episodes. I've been in 1 episode in season 1 in season 2. They haven't started airing season 3 yet, which probably won't happen until this summer, but I'm in 2 episodes in season 3. And they want to use me more, so hopefully they'll get season 4 and I'll be in a lot more episodes after that. So it's been fun. It's like he starts out kind of a loser. He's supposed to be the fun uncle, but he's just had a lot of stuff happen in his life. And so it's just every show has been in the evolution of this character into kind of showing why they call him Fun Uncle Pat. So it's a lot of fun. It's the closest to my voice that I've ever done on a show, which was kind of weird at first. But it's like it's my voice slightly drunk with like a stuffy dough. So he's just kind of sounds like this. Oh, Kev. You just got a good place here. Just always kind of slightly depressed. Very much, it's like very close to my personality. But then everything I do has me in it. Mm-hmm. Brak especially. I think Brak and I basically are kind of one and the same. And I think Brak has helped me on stage. I don't use him on stage, but just the whole thought of his mindset and the thought that when I have the puppet on, he's just a lot more ornery, and I can pretty much say anything with the puppet on, Yeah. So I can't normally control what he says.
Oh, no.
But usually he's like, hello. Okay. What are we talking about now? Stop moving your mouth.
Well, Brak, I was going to ask what advice you have for other people that are voice actors that are looking to make a break or maybe looking to just get better at their craft. Or is that too serious of a question?
No, that's something for him to answer.
Brak, let me ask you this. No, if you had to make a recommendation on brands of beans, what brands of beans, Brak?
Not brands. It's certain types.
Yes.
Yeah. So I usually go the English route. Now, once I discovered beans on toast, holy crap. I'm trying to get him out of the shot because he can't stop moving his mouth. Beans on toast. Back to him. So if you want to get into the business, no. That's I think voiceover people get that question a lot. Not the beans question, but the how to break into
very few beans questions.
Not well, we all have our different story. Dana Snyder was discovered on stage. Mm-hmm. He's just got that unique voice, Yeah. I created a show. We didn't have the budget to hire professional voice actors. So I did Brak for free for the first, few years until, at some point I was doing enough Cartoon Planet where they were like, okay, let's give him the same contract that George and Clay have. And then AOL bought us and destroyed all of those contracts. So I was a full-time employee of Cartoon Network, so it didn't bother me. I mean, it sucked, but less money, but it sucked more for Clay and George because they pretty much relied on that as their main income. And it was destroyed once AOL was like, what's with these books? So, but George just, had that unique voice
Mm-hmm.
and he had done a bunch of radio spots and stuff, and he just kind of sounded space ghosty, and he had the right sense of humor. Gary Owens didn't really get what we were writing. That's why he wasn't Space Ghost. Clay basically was an animator where we were putting the show together in the early days. And he came up with the concept of Zorak and Moltar being held captive and working on the show. And what sold that idea was like, all right, well, Zorak sounds very distinctive. And then Clay kind of showed us that he could do the voice, and we were like, done. Perfect. Clay could do anything that Dawes Butler and Don Messick could do. He had just such a versatile voice. Clay, beyond voice work, I think Clay was like his worst enemy. I think Clay got in his own way most of the time. I think he could have been really amazing, both like voice and animation wise, but I think he just stepped on himself all the time. But yeah, it's like you either have to be really good, you have to have a really unique voice, you have to be really diligent. Some of these people have to be. It's hard, when you talk to anime voices. I think most anime is just like luck almost. But yeah, it was right place at the right time. Other people, it's being discovered because you have a really unique voice. And then others are just freaking diligent,
Yeah. I mean, there's people that have a list that's like 4 million roles long, and you'll never know their name. They're crazy neighbor number 5 or something like that. They're always in the background, or somebody they bring in to just kind of clean up or re-record.
I'm constantly doing cons. Yeah, I'm constantly doing cons with anime people, and they'll have like a list of 400 voices they've done. Yeah. Just because they do anime dubs, and you have to be in some like breakout show and be like the main character of a breakout show to actually make money. They don't get residuals. They get just a basic kind of non-union crappy fee for their services. And then if you get lucky and you're on one of those really overly popular shows and you're the main character, then you can go and just make bank at con after con after con. Mm-hmm. Because people will be lined up the entire weekend. I'll do cons and I'll just have a spurt every once in a while of, people coming by, and I'll do pretty well. But a really good anime show I would love to, be a part of, because just to have that constant line.
Yeah.
They've got to be making, I don't know, upwards of 25,000 a weekend. I don't know.
That's great. You need a hype man. You need somebody that's going to be out there driving people to your booth.
But it's good for the anime people because they just make shit otherwise. But no, it would be nice to have a publicist. I have a con agent. I've got a voice agent, but it's not always, up to the agents. I have to kind of like promote myself a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I, post stuff all the time, and I try and stay relevant on social media and all of that stuff. And it pays off a little bit. More people know what I look like in public now and stuff, but I would love to do more comedy shows. I would love to do a lot more Comic-Cons and stuff. Just Comic-Cons are fun because you get to like meet the fans. And there's nothing I like more than, just interacting with the fans and talking to them, because I don't know. I think most of the time it's just out of living alone. I just love going to cons and stuff because you're just surrounded by people and you just kind of like talk nonstop.
Yeah.
Kind of
And
like
everybody's
this.
interested in what you have to say. You're most charming at those panels, right? Where people are like,
Yeah.
Andy, I was just curious, like, in episode 47 of something or other, would you?
I don't get that, but
all right.
you have to be really patient on some things because, you've got to tell the origin story one more time and act like it's the most fresh question ever asked of you. But the last con I did, I started actually being a moderator, where the panel's not about me, it's about certain people, the armorer from Mandalorian, or DJ Qualls. I moderated his panel, and I did an anime panel. They expected me to answer questions because they thought I was an anime voiceover. And I'm like, no, this isn't about me. This is about, you have to redirect. It's fun to me to do that, even because, good Lord, one thing that happened in DJ's panel was magic. This like 7-year-old girl got up to ask a question. She was asking how he plays 2 different characters in one show. And then she started going on this tangent about going to trunk or treating at her church and how she dressed up as a princess and went and got candy out of people's trunks at the church and the Easter. It's like weird conversations where you're kind of like, but the stuff coming out of the little girl's mouth is just so wild that it's like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever attended in my life.
That's great.
I'm just getting into that kind of thing now, and just like kind of, I don't know, working the audience in a different way where it's not about me. I think that's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, it's what you need to be, if somebody asks you like what anime you've been in, you need something like where it's like, oh no, I did the Egyptian dub of Lupin the Third.
No. I people, well, because I'm a voice actor, they demanded me to answer voice acting questions. So I'm like, all right, fine. I'm not an anime, but this is how I work.
Yeah, kind
of a thing.
Well, let's take a few minutes. Speaking of ways that fans can connect with you, let's talk about your Cameo. You're pretty active over there. It's people can hop on. Actually, I've got a banner here that should make it easier for anybody that's interested in learning more.
Yeah.
Cameo.com/Andy Merrill 2. Was there an Andy Merrill 1?
I think it was. It's like there are 2 Andy Merrills taken. And it's the same with Dave Willis. There's David Willis 2 or something like that. Dave's got a Carl puppet. Because, it's hard to do unless you're like a really well recognized voiceover person. It's hard to do just a cameo by yourself because nobody wants to look at your stupid face. Unless somebody asks me to, because I've been doing a lot of music, if somebody wants me to do some romantic song or something like that, I'll do it. But most of the time it's the puppet because that's what they want. And there's a few times where people, instead of me saying Brak things, they will have very special things that they want Brak to say. And oftentimes it's out of character. It's something I don't frickin' understand. And they'll write like a whole script for Brak to read. And that's when the cameo is not about the person that the cameo is for. That's when the cameo turns into a Raz session of the person that ordered the cameo.
Yeah.
Because I'll be like, I don't know, I'm just like, I don't know. I could have done, I don't know. I love Baines or some song or something, but no. You want me to read this diatribe that you wrote for your friend? So no, I'll do it. But I'll do it in protest, and that's what I'll just be. I'll just go like, I'll start it. I'll start reading it, try and read it out, and then halfway through, I'll just go, "Oh God, I just don't know if I can do the rest." And to me, that's the funniest thing to me. And that's not encouraging people to write their own dumb scripts all the time for Brak. Yeah. But usually my cameo videos with the puppet are some of the most unhinged Brak that you will ever see. So I'll know the audience, so I won't swear when I'm not supposed to, but it's just like, it's like they'll just say happy birthday to my friend we've been watching for years, and that's it. And so I'll just do basically just 3 minutes of the most insane improv you will ever hear, and it's worth it. I have never gotten less than a 5-star review, so everybody seems to be happy with whatever cameo I do for them.
Well, it's excellent. I'd certainly recommend that people hit you up over there. My cameo,
you won't be disappointed.
You probably won't be, based on constant 5-star ratings. I am also on Cameo. Unfortunately, I have positioned myself as the cheapest person on Cameo. So I get a lot of stuff where it's basically like, I figured it out. Like, what is the very least amount of money you can charge on Cameo and still get people that will pay for your cameo? But there's a lot of people that are absolutely like, hey, and you could tell they're high schoolers, and they'll be like, tell John that he's a butt and his face looks like a butt and he smells like a butt. And it's like,
yeah, I get those too.
Like, yeah, it's like, I don't really want to do that.
I was going to do that anyway.
I reject all that. But there's a lot of people that are like, hey, my friend is getting ready to go to college, or they're turning 22, and just give them some life advice. I love that.
Because I love doing that too. Yeah, I just did one for an 11-year-old, and I was like, you know what? You get straight A's. You are the perfect student. You can do anything you want. One day, I don't doubt that you're going to, put on boots and put your footprints on the moon.
I feel so fortunate. I feel so fortunate to be able to do some of those, because it's people that are either, or they're like, hey, they've been, my friend has been having a hard time. Can you just cheer him up? Like, what are
I love doing those too.
Yeah, that's
the fun things. Some of the most fun ones are kind of sick in the head, because people will say, my friend just got, what was it? I don't want to say he got his leg amputated or something like that. No, he did. He did. And they said, oh, feel free to make fun of that too. And so I was just like, hey, happy birthday. It's good that you're 50. Well, except for that one part. That one part, I guess, is still going to be perpetually 49. So that, just, if I'm allowed to do it, I will go wherever you want me to go.
Yeah.
But I initially would charge whatever the other voiceover person charged. I think it was like $120. And then I thought, I just started feeling like that was too high of a price point. So I think the beginning of the year I went down to like $75. Now it's like $50 this week because of Mother's Day sale is going on.
Yeah, which is nice.
So I usually get a good response around holidays like Father's Day, graduation, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day. That's a big one. Christmas. Yeah. Birthdays.
A message from Brak is always the perfect gift.
And even though I was really drunk last night, I managed to hold it together for at least 5 cameos for Mother's Day. Because I was inebriated, but I had enough wherewithal to say poignant things with the puppet. And I looked over the ones that I recorded last night, and I didn't say anything stupid or embarrass myself. So
That's always good.
But I was drunk. I don't recommend doing cameos drunk, but I think that was part of my selling point last night. That's why I got some requests last night, because I had recorded myself getting more and more and more drunk, saying, if you want a cameo while I'm inebriated, now's the time to order it. So
Yes.
I got about
Extra
5
bonus.
orders last night. Yeah. But one of them was to the 11-year-old. So I was like, I got to sober up. I got to say something really cool.
Get some water on my face here. Andy, I really want to thank you for taking time and chatting with us and talking a little bit about your career and new things that are going on and stuff. So I'm watching the convention list. I'm really hoping to come and meet you in person sometime. Again, the Brak character and Coast to Coast and all that type of stuff is a big part of what is kind of formed my sense of humor and stuff. And I know a lot of people say those same things, but I do mean it. So thank you, sir.
So far, I am not doing a con the rest of the year unless I get into something. So I think if you want me to come to your town and there's a con in your town, you can like request me to be at your con and cross your fingers and hope that I get to go. So
talk to those con coordinators. Yes, talk to those con coordinators. Get Andy there.
Yeah, I just talked to a con coordinator for October in Nashville. My friend Gail Simone is trying to get me at more bigger cons. She writes Uncanny X-Men. She just came out with what is it? She Spawn this week. Yeah. Todd McFarlane came out of retirement a little to do like a She Spawn cover for Gail. That's so cool. Proud of her. Yeah. But yeah, trying to get me into WonderCon, or I would love to get into San Diego Comic-Con, but that's just a dream. So, you never know.
You get attached to the right project, and gosh, they pay for you to go there. They get you.
They
there.
always do.
They put you in the big room.
Yeah, they. You get to a point where you go to cons, and once the con invites you, then they pay for everything. They pay for the flight and the hotel and stuff, and you're a real, actual celebrity guest, which I never consider myself that. Although I have a table amongst people that I drive crazy because I'm always constantly playing music throughout. I don't like to just sit there at my con tables. I like to entertain.
Yeah. So, well, it's cool. You draw them in.
I either draw them in or I entertain the crowd that is there for the anime guest next to me.
Right. It's hey, are you in guest for Tara Strong? Hey, let me play you a song while you're waiting.
I keep wanting to do cons with, just happen to do cons with friends of mine. I keep wanting to do a con with Tara Sands, who's done. I worked with on Cartoon Fridays back in the day. She was our host, but she's been Bulbasaur on Pokemon. She's done a lot of anime and stuff, so she's constantly going to conventions.
That's awesome.
But I would love to do a convention with her just to hang out once again. So, yeah.
Awesome. Andy, thank you again, sir.
Thank you for having me. I think I only said the F word 3 times.